managed to get fed then. Right, before we've got a section now, then a brew break, then the end of the day section. At the end of the day, I know some people are stopping in a different hotel, so we'll probably be going booking in and what have you, but we'll all be in the bar, no doubt, by 6:30. Bit of a clue for those of you who like a drink Saturday night, we'll all be in there rather late. For those of you who can stay, it's worth coming along even if you don't want to get pissed, because there's rather a lot of technique sharing and other things go on in the bar, and it's a chance where you can ask your specific, personal to your circumstance, situation, questions about this sort of relevant. Okay, we got to the point where we spoke about the only other option in the stage sense is non-responsive people. And so that you look good and professional as the stage hypnotist, what to do with them so that you are remaining in control. You have two options. Option number one, oddly enough, is the one I've used first, hence it's option number one, and then option number two, which is relevant for, no, it sounds daft, but it's relevant based on how many non-responsive people you've got. If you've only got one person that you consider non-responsive who opens their eyes or whatever, you're only ever going to use option number one. If you've got, say, 3 people, which if you've got a big stage and you get 12 people, you might end up with 2 or 3. Then you do option 1 first, because then, I shall see why in a minute, those non-responsive, the other 2, could end up becoming responsive good subjects. So who's not got an easily battered or bruised ego? Okay, it's for demonstrational purposes only. Thank you. Wonderful. Take a seat, sir. We're going to imagine that there's other people sat on this stage that have actually gone under. Okay. Well, this twat here hasn't. Alright? Or he closed his eyes and then opened them up, but he's a cunt. That's an industry term, by the way, no, you know. So, be non-responsive for me, if you would, okay? Right. And then I'll explain the relevance of this afterwards, because what it looks like is somewhat slightly different than what's going on psychologically. So, relax, sleep, this person does. I come up to you, and tilt your head back, let your head fall forward, just relax and sleep. And I walk off and realise that your eyes are open. And okay, there's different levels of hypnosis. In fact, what I'd like you to do, say, could you just stand up, please? Just come forward a bit, put your feet together, that's wonderful. Brilliant, just stand there, that's great. I'll be with you in a moment. Drifting down, sinking down, drifting down, deep in knees. Nothing will bother you. I'm only talking to you if I touch you on the shoulder, so then you can leave them all day long. Concentrate on it. So, you know I've been doing this job now for, oh bloody hell, 14, I can't remember. Nearly 18 years actually, come this August, and you are only twice before have I met somebody like you, sir. I've got to give you, what a state of mind, you resisted there. But you know why that is? It's because I know, I can tell by looking at you, you can hypnotise yourself. You don't need me to do it for you, you can do it yourself. And the way to do it, just put your right hand out in front of you like that, okay? On the count of 3, what I'd like you to do is just gently tap yourself on the face like that. And at the same time, say out loud the word sleep. And off you'll go, just like that. On the count of 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and sleep. Now you've got to say sleep louder, okay? We'll try it again, because you know, 1, 2, 3, sleep. No, right, there's got to be sort of at the same time, and a little bit harder. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, and sleep. Oh, sorry, hang on, you're using your right hand, aren't you? I should start demonstrating. It should be your left hand, sorry about that. Just put your left hand out like that, okay? Count of 3, just tap yourself on the face, say sleep, off you go. 1, 2, 3, and sleep. Well done. I'm going to give you that. You resisted, never mind. But ladies and gentlemen, that just goes to show you don't need to be hypnotised to make a complete prick of yourself on stage. Give him a round of applause as he goes back to the audience and joins all the other rejects. Right. With an audience, doing that will get you a laugh, because they're expecting you to, they think something's gone wrong, but then you turn it back into a gag. More importantly, these people here who've got their eyes closed at this time, this is the fucked up psychology of stage hypnosis. The audience, the majority of them, tend to perceive that when these people have got their eyes closed and are in trance, hypnotised, out of it, that's a good phrase, out of it, they actually do think of it in terms of these people being out of it. So they kind of tend to think that whatever is being said, which is kind of amplified by phrases like, I'm only talking to you if I touch you on the shoulder, they tend to think that the audience comes to think that these people don't hear what's going on. But, of course, they do. Which means that when you get somebody like Simon, who's non-responsive, get them to do something like that and make them look a complete and utter prick, in a sort of jokey manner, all these people who are sat down here, including, in the case of maybe having 3 non-responsive people, the other 2 non-responsive ones that are sat there with their eyes open, hear it, and in the non-responsive cases, see it, and think, I don't want to look an idiot like that. So that means that your responsive ones hear it and think, I ain't getting sent back to the audience and looking a prick. Thus making it more comfortable and pleasurable for them to remain on stage and do the daft things, because that way they've got the perfect excuse of, well, he hypnotised me, rather than going back and looking, because after the show, Simon, people will be going up to him and going, what a prat you look. He's got no comeback, he can't say he was hypnotised or not. This is the sort of psychological scenario you're setting up. The 2, if for the sake of speaking, non-responsive people that have got their eyes open that see this as well, think, I don't want to look daft like that. So, this is the point where if you were short of volunteers, you didn't have that many on stage, you may choose to now re-hypnotise or attempt to hypnotise again the non-responsive people. Because you've now created a scenario where the majority of the time they're now thinking, I'd sooner stay here and look daft than get sent back and look daft. So it's more pleasurable to stay than it is to go. Pain and pleasure, which comes into therapy tomorrow. So, through your skills of observation, and quite frankly asking the obvious question, because we'll decipher what it means in a minute, well, obviously, different people react in different ways, and there are different ways of hypnotising people, and it would appear that we need to use a different way with you. So, would you like to stay on stage and give this a go? Would you like to stay on stage and give this a go? The emphasis is on, would you like to stay on stage? Deciphered, what you're saying right in front of the audience really is, are you going to fucking do what you're told this time? Or are we wasting our time here together? Do you want to go back and look a prat? Which, if they don't want to stay on stage, you're going to make them look a prat. Don't worry. If they do want to stay, oddly enough, that's sort of like them saying, yeah, this time I will react. So you would then choose your favourite, whatever it may be, induction method, and whilst in fairness they will probably not be hypnotised, they will just react in the manner they're supposed to so that they look good. Oddly enough, some of them, because then they will put down the walls of resistance that stop them from becoming hypnotised, will then relax enough and cooperate enough that because of the process you go through, whether that be falling back and all this physiological trickery or into the fetal position or whatever, will actually become hypnotised. I hate that word. But anyway, so you do it, but let's say a few moments later he's a cunt. So, got it in his head he's going to make you look a cunt. No, you've always got to come out looking on top because you're the stage hypnotist who knows what you're doing. So, I'm trying to think, you were not at the last version of this seminar, were you?
No. Probably no.
No. Just take a seat here, please, Chris. You can be our second non-responsive person.
Okay.
You've just agreed that you're going to give it another try, but when I try it, it's not going to work. Okay? So, brilliant. Different people react in different ways. Would you like to stay on stage and give this a try? You would. That's brilliant. I'd like to do that until you head back, take a nice deep breath in. I'm going to count from 3 to 1, bullshit waffle, whatever you're going to do. At this point, they're either going to do it or they're not, frankly, because you're so far down the line, it doesn't really matter what you say, they're either going to react or not. Walk off. Oh dear, I notice he's got his eyes open. Okay, just open your eyes. Because the irony of it is, there's two elements to this. Just put your head back in the position it was. A second, but with your eyes open. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Now, in a conventional audience, certainly from here, and given at a stage you can't, certainly from here, see that his eyes are open. I can, but from that distance it sort of looks like they're shut. So you know that they're open. So for the majority of the audience who can't see that, when you go up and go, okay, just open your eyes, which in other words, because you're pushing him, is saying, put your head up, the audience then see him with his eyes open and think, oh, he must have gone under. So they'll go away with the perception that you're good at what you do. But you know, because you can see, you do that in that close proximity, which is a comment. Not, you know, personally, you know, for training purposes only, obviously. But because the majority of the audience will be of the opinion that he was hypnotised, because it looks like what their perception is, when you do what you're about to do to get rid of unresponsive subject number 2 and make him look a bit of a tit before sending him back to the audience, which then if you had a third non-responsive person should just about be the time where they get the message, yeah, you do something like that. That's great. In fact, you just stay sat where you are. You're not even going to need to close your eyes for this. You can be hypnotised with your eyes open, which is giving the impression again to the audience that you're hypnotised. I'm going to count to 3, okay? I'm going to put a suggestion straight into your head on the count of 3. And on the count of 3, when I tell you what the suggestion is, I want you to try and prove me wrong, okay? We understand each other. So if I was to say to you on the count of 3, just try and stand up, okay? If you stand up, you prove me wrong.
Okay.
Yeah? Brilliant. Okay, 1, 2, look at the finger, look into the eyes or around the eyes, into the eye. Okay. The moment I touch you on the head, I want you to try and remove your shoes on your own. Try and take your shoes off on your own. On 3. Now. Yeah. Unfortunately, sir, I took them off as well, so you didn't actually get your shoes off by yourself. Take them with you. Thank you very much. We won't be needing you in the show. Give him a round of applause as it goes back to the audience. And you send them back to the audience without their shoes on, looking a bit of a tit. And everyone in the audience suddenly learns a new bar trick they can use when they go to the pub that night to annoy their friends. That obviously once they took one shoe off, you just get at least one of yours off, and they've not taken the shoes off by themselves. Sometimes, for highly fucked up reasons unbeknown to me, the person who's unresponsive, and then you decide you're going to do that for their unresponsive person number 2, who you try the induction again and they open their eyes. When you come to say, and now try to remove your shoes by yourself, and you're waiting for the one shoe to come off so you can do the gag, sometimes they can't get the shoes off. Sometimes, for some reason, don't ask me why, I don't know. Sometimes that just becomes the point where the switch in the brain flicks and they think, not what am I supposed to do, confusion, disorientation, I don't know. And when that happens, and you've got to recognise it, because let's face it, you don't have to say, well, from now, six, 7 seconds. That's all that was. Seems a lot longer. After that sort of time period, if they haven't started trying to take the shoes off, they either A, don't get it, or B, they come to the conclusion that they can. In which case, what they call in neuro-linguistic programming, or Ericksonian hypnosis, a pattern interrupt, if they're in that state of mind at that time that, actually, can't I? I'm confused. That is then the time when their conscious mind is so taken up with that thought process that if you go up to them and interrupt their pattern of thought, hence it's called pattern interrupt, and literally go up and go, sleep, just close your eyes down, physically, very domineeringly say that, it's so much easier at that point, rather than being confused and what the hell's going on, to just go, oh, fuck it, I'll do what I'm being told. That's the way of explaining it. I'm trying to explain a thought process, but in truth, that second, at that time where their conscious mind is so taken up with that, that when you unexpectedly go in and either physically move them at the, in a strange manner at the same time as saying sleep, is a shock to the system. So you've got that shock impact, it's a pattern interrupt, and it's quite often enough just to tip them over the edge, and once they've tipped over the edge that bit, it's like falling off a bridge. The chances of them coming back are very minimal. And even if they do later in the show, well, then you can leave them there and use option 2. As long as the audience come to the perception that you've hypnotised them, then the audience will go away and say you've done a good stage hypnosis show. And as long as they're saying that, you get more bookings and it becomes cyclic and self-fulfilling. So what is option number 2? Well, option number 2 is to use the people, if they come round part way through the show with their eyes open, for routines, even though they're not hypnotised, and even though the audience have seen them open their eyes up. Okay? So that by the end of the show, the audience, who've been laughing, clapping, watching what's going on, will walk away, and all they will remember is there was 8, 10, however many people on stage, and that all of them were doing daft things. And when they're relating this to other people and saying, oh yeah, they're all doing daft things, well, they're talking about a stage hypnotist, so the perception people will get is that all the people were hypnotised. Whereas in truth, a couple of them that were non-responsive, excuse me, you might have a female here who is responsive and say, in a few moments' time when I awaken you, or 1, 2, wide awake, who's your favourite film star in the world? Okay, Mel Gibson, sleep, relax, drifting down, sinking down. When I awaken you in a few moments' time, you're going to see a gentleman stood in front of you to the right-hand side. You're not going to come to the shocking realisation that this is the man himself, Mel Gibson. You're going to run up to him, you're going to hug him, love him and caress him. Nod your head if you understand. You'll have heard me use that phrase earlier on today. The reason for that is nod your head if you understand. Deciphered is basically saying, do you understand what you're supposed to do, and are you agreeing that you will do it when you're supposed to do it? So when they nod their head, you're pretty confident that it's going to happen. Brilliant, tremendous. And you, sir, I'd like you to come here. This is your non-responsive person. Get him to come here, stand here. He's going to be the Mel Gibson person. All he's got to do is stand there. But when then you wake her up, one, two, you're wide awake. Hey, we've got a special guest for you. Look who it is over there. And you join in with this pantomime, making it feel more comfortable for them. Off she goes, running, kissing, loving and hugging, whatever. You go up and go, sleep! Hold on tight to her. When you wake up in a few moments' time, my darling, you'll come to the shocking realisation the person you're holding on to is no longer the man of your dreams, Mel Gibson. In fact, you'll come to the shocking realisation that you're holding on to a horrible, smelly pervert. And you've got extra strength in your right hand. 1, 2, 3, you're wide awake. I'm moving away, I've seen it before. Joke takes place. People laugh. You can do routines where you involve the people that are non-responsive in a manner whereby they don't have to really do anything. Obviously, in an ideal world, everyone on stage would be hypnotised. And then if you were doing a routine like that, you'd involve the audience to get them involved, and you get somebody from the audience to be the Mel Gibson person or whatever. But where you've not got many, you can make it look like, and have the audience remember it as if everyone you got up was hypnotised, and you had a stage full of people all doing these daft things, which if they go away saying that, gets you the paycheck. Pardon?
Inspired.
Inspired. Thank you. That's one definite approach. The other approach, how do you demonstrate that at a seminar like this? Oh dear. Okay, the other approach would be, I'm going to pick on it random. I don't know, somebody volunteer. Rather than picking on it. Go on then, David. Oh, well, I wouldn't need this approach with you, sir, because you are wonderful, responsive, but for this, just try to pretend. And that was an embedded command. Try to pretend, and also implying you won't be able to, but no, force of habit now to do with it. That you have been up to this point somewhat non-responsive. Yeah. Now, you're going to hear what I'm going to say in this environment, because a stage hypnosis show wouldn't take place like this. Okay? It happens somewhere where there's a bigger audience, more of a gap, so that I'd be speaking through a PA system, otherwise you wouldn't hear me. So if I moved the microphone away from my mouth, you wouldn't hear what I was saying. But the moment I brought it back, you would hear what I was saying. For purposes of this demonstration, you're going to hear absolutely every bloody word. So just bear in mind that when I've got my hand out here, as an audience, normally you would be able to hear what I'm saying. And when I've got my hand out lower down, briefly, you wouldn't be able to hear. You'd just hear the background music that would be on as I'm saying, and listen to the music, because with a proper show you'd also have music to make it theatrical show business, lovey darling, and all that crap. So you've been non-responsive till now. This is the point where we say, okay, we're going to give you one final try at this. What I'd like you to do is just stare directly at one of the lights in front of you. That's tremendous. And the same with however many of them. You can do this with more than one person by walking up and down. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. I'm going to count from 3 to 1. On the count of 1, when I tap you on the head, it'll just be a sign and a signal for you to close your eyes down, let your heavy head fall forward onto your chest, and enter a lovely, relaxing sleep-like state that we call hypnosis. So 3, nice deep breath in through your nose, then out through your mouth. Relaxing, just listen to the music. It doesn't matter whether you can hear my voice loud or you can just hear the music like this. Okay, just close your eyes down and I'll give you 20 quid afterwards. Drifting down, sinking down, drifting down. That's wonderful. Just keep your eyes closed, I'll sort it out, mate. That's wonderful indeed. Drifting down, sinking. Right, by the way, the point is, whether it's 20 quid, 50 quid, the more money the better. 50 is about right, otherwise it seems a bit too over the top. You notice as the mic moves away, and you've pre-warned the audience, there's going to be a brief silence by saying, you know, it doesn't matter if you hear my voice loud or if you just hear the music like this. So it's like you're just demonstrating to the audience, and the fact that you're leant over, and you just say it like that, you don't move your lips much, you know, I'll tell you what it is, mate, I'll give you 50 quid if you close your eyes now. After the show, I'll give you 50 quid. The worst it can do is not respond and get sent back to the audience looking at it. On the rare occasions I've had to use this technique, let me tell you that bribery works wonders, and people do tend to then start becoming somewhat responsive. But yeah, okay, but it sounds a bit expensive, that, doesn't it? So how do we get round that one? At the end of the show, after you've had them doing all the stuff you want, because in the promise of their 50 quid, you'd go up to them like everyone else and go, I'm just sleep. Brilliant, I'll sort you out afterwards. And you know, after each routine, you might casually say off mic, that's brilliant, you really deserve this money, after embedding in the idea they're definitely getting it. So at the end, you'd be there with your eyes closed, just for the sake of demonstration. That's how I'm talking to everybody on stage. I'm going to count from 1 to 10. On 10, you'll be wide awake. Everything I've said to you tonight will be completely cancelled out, except for the final suggestions that I give certain members of our on stage stars here tonight, and you'll know I'm talking to you because I'll touch you on the shoulder. So, you sir, when you wake up in a few moments' time and I send you back to the audience, on the count of 10, everything I've said tonight will be completely cancelled out in every way, shape and form, except you will find that for the next week and the next week only, you will not be able to get a fucking erection. When you wake up in a few moments' time, darling, and I send you back to the audience, you're going to find the next time that you're making love to your partner, just at that very crucial moment, it's my fucking face, you'll see. Drifting down, sinking down. I'm talking to you, sir. You're going to find in a few moments' time when you're waking you, 7, everyone on stage, lighter and brighter. 8, lighter and brighter. 9, and you, sir, when I send you back to the audience, are going to be absolutely convinced that I offered you £50 to take part in the show, and the more that people tell you that's not true, the more you'll say it is. 1, 2, you wide awake, everybody! Very quickly into the wide awake, before he opens his eyes of his own accord, thinking you're a bastard. Now, you've got to look at the situation here. Been on stage probably for 90 minutes making a tit of himself. He's probably going to be a little bit angry at the idea, but how much more of a tit is he going to look now in front of 100, 200 people if, yeah, he's got to sort of go with it. So then you send them back to the audience. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Off you go. You send them back. Get rid of them. And a huge round of applause for our wonderful volunteers. And so they do, indeed. Don't clap on your own, somebody will throw your fish. Yeah, was that a round of applause or somebody put the chips in? Oh, the old ones are coming out. Where was it? I lost my trail of thought. Yeah, so at the end, when you send them back to the audience, it's a guaranteed fact they're going to go around telling their family and friends, he bloody did offer me 50 quid. I only did it because he offered me 50 quid. Slight technical issue, the audience will swear blind, because it was off microphone, that you never said anything of the sort or did anything of the sort. So therefore, because they've just seen you give him a suggestion that he's going to swear blind he was offered 50 quid, and the more the audience say that he wasn't, he'll swear blind that he did, his genuine, it did happen, will convince all the members of the audience that come into contact with him that he was genuinely hypnotised. Thus meaning next time you're back at that venue, all those people are genuinely convinced that you had even the big sceptic that they may have been talking to before the show, right, which often happens in a pub scenario. You know, somebody decides in advance they're going to try and fuck your show up, but then you do something like that, turn them into being responsive, send them back at the end that little bit angry, but then all the mates that they've been speaking to are like then taking the piss out of them and going, yeah, but you didn't say anything. Didn't say anything. You've been hypnotised. Face it, you got hypnotised. And there quite often comes a point where the person that you've sent back who started off angry gets so pissed, well, you could say on one level pissed off, on the other level perhaps so confused, or a combination thereof, that they end up coming to the belief that perhaps, well, perhaps I just imagined it. Perhaps I was hypnotised. Because the audience will actually do the conditioning and the brainwashing after the show to convince them that they were hypnotised. Thus meaning the irony of it is that next time you go to that venue, that person will probably volunteer again and be incredibly, incredibly responsive, because by then they have been brainwashed, conditioned into the fact they've been hypnotised, so therefore they can be again. And that is actually far more, although somewhat slightly weird, but it's far more powerful than it sounds at first sight, because you've got people don't like, it's group psychology, and this is relevant to group therapy sessions as well, group psychology. That's why stage hypnosis, whether you want to work on stage or not, is useful to know about, because if you're going to do group therapy sessions, which is more money in than doing one-to-one, then, you know, knowing this fucked up psychology can often just give you that bit more confidence of why things will work in a group. Let me just tell you one or two things about social psychology, group psychology, and where this is coming from. That's why for example, that person becomes eventually to the belief that they may have been hypnotised. And the moment they believe they have, then technically they have. Right, where do we start? There was I forget who did the experiment. That's neither here nor there. That's the scientific shite side of it. But the experiment that was done on a railway station, where the waiting room is, two psychology students set it up between themselves, and one of them went into the room, sat down, started reading a newspaper, left it a few minutes. Short while later, the second one went in, sat across the other side of the room, and they had a bag with them and a frisbee. And they left a suitable time gap, so you know, people, as they do, knows it. Oh, somebody else has come in. And he suddenly goes, "Oi, mate." So obviously everyone looks, and he accidentally catches the eye of the other psychology student, because obviously they've set this up. And he goes, "Hey, do us a favour, catch this," throws the frisbee. And the guy who catches it goes, "Oh, right, yeah, there you go, mate, get that." And throws it towards somebody else in the waiting room who's got nothing to do with either of them. But remember, everyone else in the waiting room thinks these people aren't connected anyway. And the person because this, you know, this guy who's just caught the frisbee and he's now wanting to throw it to somebody else. It's kind of a respectable businessman, you know, with a copy of the Daily Mail, rather than the young youth who threw it with the jacket on, the way people have stereotypes, preconceived ideas. Nobody questions it as much as, oh, the respectable guy's saying, hey, have a laugh, catch this, throw this back to him, will you? Before you know it, everyone's playing frisbee. They leave it a week or two, they go back to do the same experiment. Exact same thing, except when the youth throws the frisbee at the businessman-looking student, he gets hold of it, stands up all disgusted and goes, I'm reporting you to the station master, and storms off. The youth reacts like, oh, what have I done wrong? And oddly enough, wouldn't you believe, everyone in the room starts going, we shouldn't have been throwing that in here, shouldn't have been doing that. Because we're conditioned in our environment to try to blend in, to try and not rock the apple cart. The majority, and this is a numbers game, but so stage hypnosis, the majority of people don't want to be the odd one out. They don't want to be the cause of the row. They don't want to be the leader of the team. They want to be one of the sheep that follows what other people do. And generally speaking, when we see several other people doing something and it seems calm, safe, everyone else is doing it, it's getting social approval by other people, rather than being the odd one out, the boring one, tends to be that you join in easier. And hopefully you're seeing the point that so it is the same with participating in a stage hypnosis show when you create that psychological environment. Knowing the way people work in groups, we're very much pack animals, human beings. And looking at the animal kingdom gives you a lot of clues as how to manipulate people in groups, whether it's for public speaking, group therapy sessions, or what. I could, and have done on many occasions, as people who've got my DVDs know, had people show up on day one, I'm effing, I'm fucking jeffing, this is so totally out of their comfort zone that it's unreal. But as long as the majority of people in that room laugh at that point, there comes a point by the end of the day that they're either effing and jeffing in the bar with us, or at the very least they're sat there and actually laughing along with it as it happens, even if they don't agree with it, because they don't want to be the odd one out. They follow the crowd. It's brainwashing. That's all public speaking bloody is. That's what sales training is. To manipulate in the situation, to make the majority feel, react or think in a certain manner, so that they, naturally, that intent, that group focus will be infectious to the others, either so that it's infectious and they actually change their mind, or so that it becomes painful not to be one of the group. So that it becomes painful being the odd one out. And an example of that, how we like to be liked, how you, like me, and that is an embedded command, by the way, which you can use in sale. You point at the person, you, like me, but you don't do it for that long, it becomes a bit obvious, just like it's a casual gesture, you know, you, like me, probably find that, and it sounds like it's part of a sentence, that's what they call an embedded command in an LP. Do tend to be happier around people that we think we've got something in common with. Makes us feel comfortable. It's that fear of the unknown otherwise. And a great example of that is the film Planet of the Apes. I don't know if you've seen it, the recent remake, but this actually did occur on both films, the original and the remake. Now in America they've got hundreds and thousands of people that work professionally as extras, supporting artists in films. The job's to dress up as whatever, stand in the crowd and do very little. The trained chimpanzee could do it, but there's so much work out there, make a career, a living out of this. So day one, Planet of the Apes film set. All the extras come in. And oddly enough, because they work on films, they've crossed each other's paths a lot. So there's lots of friends there. Oh, good to see you. I've not seen you since the Mission Impossible film, have I, Lovey darling? I've not seen you since, oh, we must do lunch sometime. And all this bollocks is going on. They do the bit. Day one, walkthrough. It's just rehearsals. There's no costumes. There's no makeup. They do the bit. Comes lunchtime. Everyone goes in the canteen and, you know, Johnny, who knew Sarah off Mission Impossible, have gone and sat together because they've got stuff to catch up on and the friends. And, you know, these people have sat with those people because they knew each other off that other film. Just as you would expect. Next day, though, they all go into makeup and costume department to discover that some of them, obviously, are being cast as chimpanzees. Some of them are being cast as baboons. Some of them are being cast as apes, some as gorillas. And Sarah, who was mates with Johnny, well, Sarah's a chimp and Johnny's an ape, so they're not going to be working on the same area of the film set together. But hey, doesn't matter, they'll see each other at lunchtime. Lunchtime comes, and strangely enough, yep, Sarah does go and sit with Johnny. But Johnny is sat with all his gorilla mates, top of the pecking order, right? Okay? And the rest of Sarah's mates that are sort of working at the same area of the film studio as her are all sat on that table over there, the chimps. And the others are here and, you know, sort of mixed up. So what's odd about that? Well, what was odd about it is they noticed that all the extras that were in monkey costume, or whatever form of description, were sat this side of the room, and all the extras that were human beings had gone and sat that side of the room. They didn't want to sit with the chimps, and the apes of any description didn't want to sit with the humans. This is genuine. You can go on the Planet of the Apes website. They've even got photographs of them. Because the people didn't want to be the odd ones out. Well, this went further, because day two, Sarah, by lunchtime, is so in with the chimps, and more importantly, Johnny, who's up the pecking order, because they've got, you know, a bigger part, the apes, the gorillas, they're better costumes, more time in makeup, won't sit with her anymore. And as the week goes on, all the chimps have sat on their own over there, all the gorillas have sat on their own over there, all the baboons have gone and sat over there. This is true. And the point of this is, people like, at a subconscious level, to be with people that they like and feel are the same as them. And understanding that makes it so much easier to manipulate people. That sounds so devious, doesn't it? But it's true in a group session or stage hypnosis or in speech seduction. But we won't be covering that on this seminar. We have done, if you use your crazy warped mind about what was covered this morning.
Yeah.
Because stereotypically, and that's what it is, a numbers game, stereotypically people do fall into certain categories, like it'll lump it. Stereotypically, women, I'm going to get my head kicked in after, stereotypically women are weaker than men. Stereotypically, women can do more than a couple of jobs at once, whereas men tend to not be able to. It's just the way we're wired up. There's exceptions to the rule, but when you're working in a group scenario, whether it's sales training, public speaking, stage hypnosis, group therapy sessions, you've got to go with the majority. And if you get the majority on your side, and the majority reacting in the manner that's expected, then that becomes infectious to the non-responsive ones, or the ones that are a little bit out of the ordinary, so that then you get the end result that you actually wanted in the first place of whatever that may be, relevant to how you're using these particular techniques. So my advice to you is, don't ever buy another book on hypnosis or NLP, unless it's mine, of course. If you haven't already got it, then you'll buy into that idea of how good that will be for you to Go quiet. Sorry, I just can't help it. You'd be far better off reading books on social psychology, because there's far more of use in the real world of manipulating people to achieve whatever they want, or manipulating them to get what you want, depending on your intent, motives, desires, beliefs and ethics, than hypnosis alone. A lot of it comes down to your belief system and also understanding, because when you know the way most people react to certain things, not only does it mean you can control the majority of the people, but also you know instantly if you're not getting the response you should be getting. So you know what you're looking for because you've gone through that thought process of what should it be or shouldn't it be. Okay, so missing links. What missing links are there now with stage hypnosis? We've got hypnotised, we've dealt with what to do if we don't go under, we've dealt with how to get them responsive, different induction methods, different suggestibility tests. Actually, I'll just show you. Oh, yeah, I won't even refer to that. I'll just show you one or two of the really nice suggestibility tests that I like to use, not just on stage. Some of these I use actually in therapy as well, especially in a group scenario, because they brainwash people in the work, which is quite nice. I apologise to those that aren't seen the DVDs, because these will be somewhat familiar. So, before we begin, I'd just like everyone here today to get a bit of an understanding of what hypnosis is, okay? And how it affects your mind in so many positive ways to help you achieve your goal that you've come here today, to remain the confident, happy, healthy non-smoker you become and will continue to be when you leave this room. And to do that, there's two levels to this. There's the physical level and the psychological verbal level. So we'll start with verbal. We're going to just take the word silk, okay? It's spelled S-I-L-K. What I'm going to do is put my hand out in front of you like that. And when I do, each time I reach forward like that, I want you just to shout out the word silk, okay? And then, unexpectedly, I'm just going to shout out a question to you. The very instant, the very second that I ask you that question, I want you to just shout out the first answer that comes into your mind, okay? Okay, so, silk. Come on, everyone.
Silk.
Louder.
Silk. Silk. Silk.
Faster.
Silk. 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 Silk.
What do cows drink?
Silver.
Water's correct. Those that said milk, well, a few of you, which is disturbing because at least one of you that said it's got the DVDs, but the others that didn't. That's just sort of an example of how simple it is to affect the brain verbally. That's all we're going to do, use words to help you continue with this new lifestyle that you started the journey of today when you arrived. I'll give you another example. TOPS, okay, that's T-O-P-S, okay, same thing again. When I ask the question, just shout it out. So, tops,
Tops. Tops.
louder,
Tops. 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 Tops.
faster.
Tops. Tops. Tops.
What do you do at a green traffic light?
Stop.
I'm not getting in the car with you, darling. You always get one, don't you? That just gives you an idea of the way it can affect your mind. There's also physical disorientation, hypnosis, call it what you will. And for this, what I'd like you to do is put your right arm out in front of you like so. Okay, just make a fist. Please don't hit anyone, that comes later. And then just take your finger and thumb, make a gun like that, and then make a circle like that, your ring of confidence. The confident factor that you know that when you leave here today, you will achieve your goal, desire, dream, ambition, whatever that may be. Tremendous. Now what I'd like you to do on the count of three, and on the count of three only, is do exactly what I say, not what I do, okay? Do what I say, not what I do, on the count of three. 1, get yourself ready. 2, getting ready, and on 3, just touch it to your chin like that. That's wonderful. Yeah. Tremendous. That's just, by the way, darling, your chin's down here. Okay, saying that your chin's down there. I said do what I say, not what I do. Some of you react to that quickly, you see, because some of us respond to physical suggestion better than verbal. Some of us respond to verbal better than physical. That's why we're going to be using both of them. Incidentally, just going off on one here. By telling them something like that, that justifies why you're going to touch them during the session. Because they'll just come to the conclusion they must respond better to physical suggestion than verbal. So you covered It's covering you on many different levels. Okay, we're going to try one final thing now. What I'd like everyone to do is just place your hands out in front of you like so. Tremendous. And interlock your fingers. So the fingers of the left hand against the back of the right, fingers of the right against the back of the left. Press your palms tightly together, thumbs down on top. And this is somewhat slightly naffed up. Because four fingers. Please place your 4 fingers out like that. I couldn't remember what they were called then. And just separate your fingers about 1 inch if you would. That's brilliant. I'll tell you what, if that's 1 inch, love, I've got no fucking worries. But no, seriously, I'd like you to look directly at me. That's wonderful. I'm going to count backwards from 3 down to 1. On the count of 1, if you concentrate, as I'm sure you will, you'll find by the count of 1 that your fingers will be touching together. Because on 3, I'd like you to imagine it's almost as if you've got magnets on the tips of your fingers starting to pull together, draw together, bonding together, attracting together right now, getting closer and closer and closer. On 2, take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Notice and realise now as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively that your fingers are brilliant, bonding, gluing, welding, getting closer and closer. It's almost as if somebody's taken a rope, tied that around your fingers, and is starting to pull that rope closer and closer. The more you try, the quicker it happens, you bastard. I know you've seen the DVDs. The more you try, the quicker it happens. That's wonderful. For some of you, it's happened remarkably quickly. For the sake of this demonstration, I won't carry on. If I was doing a stage show, I'd just carry on for another 30 seconds or so till your fingers got knackered enough that they close. Because essentially speaking, in that position, and you keep slapping yourself all you want, it's fine. Your fingers start to shake, in James' case, and you stop yourself on purpose, or they get knackered and they start to close. It's a natural physiological, physiological response. But because we know it's going to happen for the majority of people, and that's the key, numbers game, more likely for those that have not watched any of my DVDs, obviously, then we can present this in a manner whereby people come to believe it's happened because of what we said verbally, which goes back to what I said before about when they come to believe that what you say verbally is going to happen, it will. And if this is all hopefully starting to sound ridiculously easy, it's because the sad part about it is ridiculously easy. Just so long as your audience don't know how easy it is, because it's the fact they don't know that makes it so easy for you. I hope that made sense. Because that sounded like a right tongue twister to me. Okay, so what's the other element of a stage hypnosis show? Props. I want to blend these. Props. Music. Costumes, lights, venue, advertising. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Number 1 is advertising. Unless you've been booked for some sort of screwed up surprise party, which is the worst possible environment you can try doing a stage hypnosis show in, where nobody knows in advance that you're going to be on, then it's 99% certain that the show is going to be advertised in some manner, whether that's just posters at the venue, whether you work in a company corporate function or something and they already told all the staff. In some manner it's been advertised. So people already will know a couple of key things. Number 1, they know what night you're performing. Number 2, they know that you are a hypnotist. Whatever their own personal opinion, belief, perception, thought pattern of what a hypnotist is, that is what they will assume you are. Which generally is what they've seen on TV. So they will think it's, look into the eyes, not around the eyes, into the eyes. You'll get that fucking million and one times a day. They'll know your name and what you look like. There will be a photograph on this advertising. So by the time they come to see you, when you walk out on stage, they're nudging the friends, or when you arrive at the venue, they're nudging the friends saying, the hypnotist has got here. They're not nudging the friends, unless of course they've been to a seminar like this going, hey, that geezer's here, what he's going to try and make us all think he's an hypnotist. No, they're actually hypnotising each other by going, the hypnotist is here, which is convincing them more that you're a hypnotist. And if to them a hypnotist hypnotises people, and you're there and your advertising is professional and looks, you know, full colour, professionally photographed, says on it, you know, Britain's #1 or world's #1 hypnotist, never #2. Bit of a negative suggestion. But every hypnotist on the planet, you look on the internet, look at stage hypnotists, all of them are world's #1 or Europe's #1. Fucking hell, who said so exactly? But it's that, bloody hell, must be good. It's the psychological factor, okay? Like it or lump it, my advice is, if you ever choose to do stage hypnosis shows, is, unless your name's Paul McKenna, or who now just goes for a photograph on his posters in a black suit, open chest, showing off his, I assume it's real hair, and just like that, look at me, I'm a smarmy. That's me I'm talking about, obviously for legal reasons. Unless your name's McKenna and everyone knows who you are by sight, I would strongly advise you to use the old cheesy look into my eyes pose of the classic Svengali hypnotist off the TV and films of the old. Eyes down, looking evil, fingers have gone, I don't know, it's arthritis. But it's always something fucked up like that, or, you know.
Used to be a gynecologist.
Yeah. No, I try and keep me handy. But yeah. So it's the old. Because sadly, one or two things will occur when they see that on a poster. If they're at a distance, they might think, fucking hell, it's one of James' relatives. Sorry. I mean, no offence. Take a door, take a gate, or don't take offence. Or, if they get closer and see the poster, although some people might think it anyway, if it's in a pub environment, or a working men's club or a nightclub, and it's on the wall, logical, it's advertising entertainment. No, it's not an Elvis impersonator. At first sight. Not a juggler. The two tend to come to the conclusion it's an hypnotist, especially if then they go up and look at it and see the words hypnotist. World #1 appearing here on Your Trance to be the star of the show. It's all the cheese. It's not easy being cheesy. That actually makes it work in advance so that the people want to buy a ticket and attend, because obviously, especially if you're doing a theatre show, you want bums on seats, money's a pretty important factor. But if someone else has booked you, you're not too concerned about that. But you want the people that do attend for at least a few weeks in advance to see up at that venue. Because unfortunately, we're creatures of habit, as we said before. So most people that go to a working men's club will go to that working men's club on the same night every fucking week. Most people that go out to the pub certain nights of the week will tend to go, give or take 10 or 15 minutes either way. You can do it. It's a great social experiment and a great way of me justifying why I'm always in the pub getting pissed. But if you sit there, if you had a notebook, you could jot down person looking like that, in at such a time, left at such a time, day of the week, person. And if you did that over 3 or 4 weeks, the majority of the times on the same day, pretty much the same times, the same people will come in pretty much the same time and leave at pretty much the same time, because people get stuck in the comfort zones and they go where they feel, they know, they feel safe, and they're part of like a crowd, a group, they're one of the chimpanzees. They all interrelate.